Hello and welcome to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network. Fierce FM. I want to honour the traditional owners of the lands where you are living. They took care of these lands for thousands and thousands of years and then shared this land with us at great cost to their own lives. I want to thank them for the care they have given and continue to give, to sit on the earth, listen and care for country. I also want to thank the fairies and crones who came before us in history to fight for our human right to love fiercely. The blistitude of living aloha with Charlie Snow.
Aloha, Peter. I am a Wadi person from the Darawal Nation. I identify as mahu, which is a Hawaiian term for someone who walks in the middle of the gender spectrum. My pronouns are they and them. I was brought up by a person who was a very staunch feminist and believed that just because I was born in the body that I was born into, it didn't mean that I should have any limitations whatsoever. And I was very privileged in that I was supported to just express and be myself however I wanted to be in any moment in time. So there was no expectation that I would wear this or that I would do that or I would be friends with this person or that I'd have a relationship with that person in relation to gender. I never felt that I quite fitted into any of the gender boxes or even any of the sexuality boxes that I saw around me. And so it took me quite some time to find language to be able to explain how I really feel inside of myself. And I think it also took time for culture and society to catch up to be able to provide that language for me to be able to use. I accepted that that was how it was for me and that was okay, but it's not like that for everybody. I understand that, often a lot because people don't have supportive parents. So I at least had the supportive parent. I've always had relationships with people of all different genders. And so queer works for me because I don't have relationships in normative ways. And the word non-binary or mahu, which is a Hawaiian term, which feels like it fits my energy body much more than non-binary, helps people to understand that I don't fit into a box of gender.
My parents really enforced gender roles. You're saying that your parents didn't enforce gender roles with you?
I was brought up by a single parent who now identifies more as non-binary, but back then identified as a woman and a feminist. And yeah, I could just do whatever I wanted and be whoever I wanted to be. There were absolutely no expectations or rules related to gender. My dad was slightly different because he was very conservative and very Catholic, but he remarried and had other children and I went to stay with him every second weekend. So he didn't feel that he parenting me in terms of telling me what I could or couldn't do. So I had freedom.
It's amazing. I've never heard that story before. Do you have any sense of the gift of what you were given and now sharing what the gifts were?
It's a beautiful question and I really feel that in my heart as you're asking that, the gifts that I'm able to offer through my experience. And I think it's multi-layered and multifaceted. So for one, I feel that I bring a real openness to my work. I don't have judgment of people and I bring a real experience in my energy body and what I bring to the massage table and to my teaching of having some understanding of all genders and being able to bring that into my work. And that's a privilege, yeah, because there's a lot of people that don't have that experience, even if they're very experienced body workers. For instance, a cisgendered male practitioner will often have more hurdles, yeah, because not everyone is necessarily going to feel safe with them.
Are you the only person working in Hawaiian culture and Hawaiian massage that has that perspective?
I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm the only person that identifies as being someone who doesn't fit into a binary box of gender in terms of people who teach this kind of work. But I believe that I am the only person that makes this a focus in my work, in that I really support people in gender diverse community to come and be a part of my work, to come and receive sessions, and I create a really safe space for that. In my teaching of Lomilomi Hawaiian Massage, a really large component of that is teaching people how to be aware of gender diversity and how to be inclusive and how to use aware and inclusive language so that they can provide really safe places for people. And I'm completely 100% committed to teaching everybody who comes through my training to be able to provide that space for people. And I don't know of anybody else in Australia who's doing that kind of work. I do consistently hear the feedback from gender diverse people, particularly trans people who come and do my training, that doing the training of learning how to be a Hawaiian Lomilomi practitioner and going through that process themselves is a deeply healing process, because they've never really had the opportunity to connect with their body in a really safe and supportive way, and to have absolute no judgment, and to be held physically in that way as well, with no judgment.
I imagine the Hawaiian culture that you've studied and teach would have some Christianity mixed in with it now.
Yes, Christianity definitely has and continues to play a part in Hawaiian culture now, and there's a lot of different aspects of Hawaiian culture, including aspects of Hawaiian bodywork, which have become taboo and don't even get spoken about anymore because of Christianity and their beliefs. So it's definitely influenced Hawaiian culture. Pre-white invasion and pre-Christianity, it was incredibly inclusive. It was a culture of aloha, and aloha quite literally means unconditional love. Now, there's about 50 different layers of meaning for that. It's a living unconditional love, and it's a coming from a perspective of understanding that everything is connected. The trees are not separate from us, the wind is not separate from us, source is not separate from us, we are not separate from each other, yeah? With that comes absolute non-judgment, and there's no hierarchy over anything because everything is equal. When you're living in aloha, in this absolute unconditional love, although if someone identifies as wahine, woman, or kane, man, or mahu, someone who's in the middle or is diverse, although that can be fully respected, there's no hierarchy or judgment around that. So traditional Hawaiian culture was completely embracing of everyone and everything. Sexuality was very different as well. You know, they didn't have the taboos that we have in Western culture. It was much more of a polyamorous culture. It didn't necessarily mean that everybody had to be polyamorous, but it was much more accepted. Relationships and sex didn't look the same as it does in Western culture, or how it does in Hawaii with, you know, Christianity. But yeah, people are starting to step back into the roots of Hawaiian culture. I don't feel that I have a lot of hurdles to cross with Hawaiian culture, and in fact it's the language where I've found the word that I really resonate with, mahu, that helps to describe how I walk in this world. I have had to have a lot of talks with Hawaiian teachers about this to help them really understand who I am and where I'm coming from, and help them to shift their language, because they are very much influenced by Christianity and Western culture. But once they really hear me and I bring the word mahu to the conversation, they get it.
Are you a spiritual being coming down into this body? Has the Hawaiian culture helped you to find that?
Beautiful question. I am Indigenous Australian, and that comes from my mum's side. And she very much brought me up with an understanding of spirit, of where we came from, of where we go back to, and of everything being connected. So I've always grown up with that knowledge and understanding, which has always really helped me. It wasn't until I was around about 23 that I started really actively engaging in that, and I started speaking to spirit, asking to be guided. I said, please tell me why I'm here, what I'm meant to be doing, and I promise that I will listen and I will take action and I'll do it. And that is the moment when I was guided to Hawaiian massage and Hawaiian culture. So that completely changed my life. When I started hearing Hawaiian elders speak the language and explain what that meant and explain their culture, I felt like they were speaking my heart and my spirit language, and it just made sense of everything to me. Yeah, it put everything in a context that I innately related to. I have a spirit self which is bigger than this physical body and far bigger than this lifetime. I feel we come from Akua, which is a Hawaiian word for source, energy creation, and that we all go back to Akua and we're all connected through Akua. Akua is this endless pool of energy, like water. And when we are born into this physical body, we get scooped up out of that pool of water, and that scoop becomes me. Another scoop becomes you. And for me, that makes sense of why some of us feel such a deep resonance like I do with you. I feel like we probably were scooped up right near each other. And there might be a little bit of me in there, a little bit of you in there. Maybe my scoop came from closer to Hawaii or something like that. But I believe that we're all connected through that.
I love what you said. Can you please request a song?
Yes. A song called Give Thanks. It's about giving thanks for being alive. And it's by an artist named Fantuzzi, who I met in Hawaii. And I did some workshops with him. And it's a beautiful, beautiful song.
Thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you, Father Sky, for giving us this beautiful way and this wonderful life. And hey, it's great to be alive with the sky over my head. And we don't need to fill our head with so much jive. Just give thanks for being alive. Thank you for being alive. I wanna thank you for being alive. I wanna thank you for being alive. Life, my friends, is my religion. The universe is my temple. Though we may find it a little hard sometimes, with the grace of God, it becomes simple. And hey, it's great to be alive with the sky over my head. We don't have to fill our minds with so much jive. Just give thanks for being alive. I want to thank you 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 for being alive. Gracias, Madre Tierra. Gracias, Padre Cielo, por darme esta vida. Todos mis queridos amigos, la vida es mi religión. El universo es mi templo. Y algunas veces lo encuentro un poco difícil, pero con la bendición del Señor lo encuentro fácil. Ay, y es tan fantástico estar vivo, con el cielo sobre mi cabeza. No tengo que llenar mi cabeza con tantas cosas, solamente dar gracias por estar vivo. Gracias por estar vivo. Gracias por estar vivo. Thank you for being alive. Thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you, Source. Thank you, Divine Mother, Holy Father, for the gift of life, for the love and the peace. For all you've given me. And hey, it's great to be alive. But the moon, the stars, the sky over my head. No tenemos que llenar la mente con tantas cosas. Just give thanks for being, for being alive. Oh Lord, I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you. Thank you. I wanna thank you for being alive. I wanna thank you for being alive. I wanna thank you for being alive. I got to thank you, Lord, for being alive, for life. Thank you, love, for being alive, for your sweet, sweet. Thank you, peace, for being alive. Thank you.
Aloha, fierce listeners. I'm Charlie Snow. I teach Hawaiian Lomilomi Massage all over Australia with permission from respected Hawaiian Elder Papa K, and I offer sessions in Mullumbimby, and you are listening to Fierce FM.
Charlie's been away, living in Melbourne for
2 years.
3 years, 5 years, feels like forever. But we have the opportunity to learn Lomilomi.
I'm teaching it in Mullumbimby from the 10th to the 15th of September. And I also have one coming up in Canberra in October that goes over 5.5 full days. And I'm keeping it as a really small group because of COVID shenanigans. So it's only 4 people. I offer a reduced price scholarship place, which is basically 50% of the cost for someone who is trans and or gender diverse, Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. You can come along if you've had absolutely no bodywork training, if you're not a massage therapist at all, you've never touched a person in that way. You can also come along if you're an experienced professional massage practitioner and you're wanting to add Lomilomi to your tool belt.
I imagine it's not just a practical physical workshop. There's a lot of personal, spiritual growth happening.
Almost everybody who comes out of the training says, wow, I thought I was going for a massage course. I didn't realise what I was actually signing up for because it's so much more than that. I teach about 50% hands-on bodywork and about 50% of the cultural and spiritual component because they go hand in hand. Lomilomi is a spiritual Hawaiian massage. It is not just a physical massage. You have to understand the spiritual context, open yourself up to akua, source energy, and how to channel that into your work. People usually feel more energized after giving rather than drained because they're not using their own energy.
What is Lomilomi?
It's given with aloha, with unconditional love, and the parts of the body that's used from the practitioner is the hands, the forearms, and the elbows. And it's done in long flowing strokes and on top of and underneath the body. And it's deeply nurturing. You come out at the end feeling like you've had a thorough massage. It works from the tip of the head down to the toes, but it excludes genitals. So people's pelvis area is always covered with a sarong, but all of the other parts of the body are massaged. It can be helpful for contraction, getting that released and shifted and moved and opened. But what it also really helps with is people drop into themselves and come into deeper alignment. So if you're feeling like unsteady in your life, you're feeling ungrounded, you're feeling disconnected from yourself or from spirit or from your heart or from other people, Lomilomi can just really help to recalibrate, clear away the cobwebs, any old energy you might be carrying that's not working for you, gain clarity about things, deeper awareness. And I feel like I'm very privileged with the background that I had, with having a lot of unconditional love and no judgment and support to be who I am, combined with the learnings from the Hawaiian Elders and the form of work that I do, then I'm able to channel this aloha, this unconditional love, and I bring that to my work, and people really feel that, and judgment within oneself can dissolve, and they can experience connection to the universe and connection to their heart and the essence of who they are. For all of my bodywork sessions, I offer 50% off for anyone who's trans and or gender diverse and anyone who's Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander.
I can testify around that. I had some sessions with Charlie and lost both my parents and a partner, trying to survive that time of loss, and coming to Charlie for a bodywork lifted me, raised my energy into a place where I could do that, care for myself, breathe easily.
We're all on a journey. You are wherever you're at in this moment in time, and you can't be anywhere else. Hawaiian culture has really taught me about letting go of struggle, finding that flowing path, finding that kind of sweet spot, let go of judgment for self, and to do loving and kind things for yourself every single day because you're worth it.
I had a very macho father. He was always right. I've inherited some of that. I'm learning that joy of not knowing and being open to any outcome at any time, and remembering to trust the highest good is coming for me, and this is how it's meant to be or whatever. But I still have a real issue with change sometimes. If things change, I find it challenging. I get scared or shitty. And that judgment happens in a second. Just today, I was sitting with people, and this young straight couple with 6 babies between them. And I was like, oh my God, I just judged them. And I didn't even know I did it. So it just happened so fast. And I don't know whether you're not like me because of your upbringing, or whether there's been a journey for you of remembering and embracing.
I am still on a journey. I'm not beyond judgment, and I'm still actually learning how to love myself and how to love the world more. Yeah, my heart is still growing and expanding with that. Instead of like beating myself up and going, oh my God, you know, you're a Hawaiian massage teacher, or you're teaching aloha, you shouldn't be judging whatever. I go, well, actually, that's great that I've noticed that, because I'm human and we all have judgment, yeah? It's a part of our survival mechanism, like it's really deeply ingrained in us, and so we shouldn't try to be getting rid of that or getting beyond that completely. But if we allow ourselves to notice when we have that, then we can make a different choice. So for me now, I kind of smile internally. I go, wow, I was really judging there. So that's an invitation to let that one go, because it's so easy to judge ourselves. And that's where the love contracts. We can't love ourselves if we're judging ourselves. And what you said about trying to be aware all the time of the higher good will lead us, and there's a path there, and we need to trust and allow ourselves to surrender to that. That's something that really carries me through my life. So even if I have moments of really deep struggle in my humanness and my heartache and my challenges, becoming more aware of my own patterning or whatever I'm going through, I always have that connection to spirit or to Akua. And every day I pray, and every day I thank Akua for having the opportunity to live this day, and I ask for guidance. And I always have that remembering that I'm not here alone doing this by myself. I'm having this little individual kind of journey, but it's connected to something bigger, and I can't possibly know all of my path So I just keep asking, I keep listening, I keep opening and keep saying yes and moving and remembering that connection.
So we're going to finish with a song.
This song that I recommend, E Homai, is actually a traditional Hawaiian chant that I do before each Lomilomi session, and I teach all of my students. But the way that this song is sung is not the chant, and it's sung by a Hawaiian person who also identifies as Mahu, and their name is Kiliwelu Reichel. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, and I play it in all of my Lomi sessions.
Thank you so much for coming on to Fierce.
Mahalo. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Fierce. This program celebrates the diversity of LGBTIQ identities and perspectives. Fierce is produced in Bundjalung country at 2NCR Lismore and can also be heard on podcast at fiercefm.podbean.com and in New Zealand on Fresh FM, as well as all over Australia through the Community Radio Network.
Fierce FM on Spotify.